And go.
All right. Thanks, guys, for inviting us here today. We're UMC NEEDS. NEED stands for Nurses Educating on Illegal Drugs and Synthetics. My name is Vern Farr. I'm the Director of Surgical Anesthesia Services at UMC. This is my wife, Jerry Farr. She used to work in the ER, still kind of does, but she's working endo and IR. Charlie Williams over there, she still works in the ER, and so does Brianne Edge. They work in the ER here at UMC. That's us. So next, just the objectives. The objectives are on your evaluation sheet, so I'm not going to go over them. Conflict of interest, we are not here to sell you anything. We're not here to advertise anything, except us. You know, there's no conflict of interest or anything like that. And, where'd you go? And that for you to complete, to get your continuing education credits, stay the entire time, fill out the evaluation form, and turn it back in. However, Chad and these guys want you to do it. We'll get you the 2 hours that we have approved for this. So I'm going to turn this over to Jerry. She starts out with us. And here we go.
Okay. So hey guys, I'm Jerry. As he said, I just left the ER because I got tired of dealing with this crap. Actually, I'm getting too old to deal with these guys that are doing this. I've been in the ER for 7 years. I'm still going to do a few shifts, but mainly not. So, talks about our how long we've all been in. I think Charlie's been in almost 9. Brianne, you've been there almost 9. So we've all been there for a while now. Kind of wanted to talk about how all this got started. As y'all know, about last April to 2014, we started seeing like 10 to 20 patients a day in the ER. Y'all were bringing them in like crazy, and y'all started bringing in these packages with them, and we didn't know what they were, and the doctors started saving them. Kind of became a joke, really. We were like, what's this stupid package? They started hanging them all over the ER. So we decided to do something with them and do some education with them. So we got the few packages and pipes and stuff that we've gotten, put them in this, and then we've gotten even more. So, and as you know, we started seeing how our medications weren't working. We were losing patients, and we couldn't figure out why all this was going on, and we didn't know about synthetics and what they actually were. So, Vern and I and Kim Henry at the time, we were all doing our bachelor's in nursing at Lubbock Christian, and we were in our nursing research class at the same time. So then we decided to do it on this project. The more we learned, it kind of got really scary, and we've started going to some conferences. We actually went to a big, huge symposium in Frisco, and that's where we learned the most of what we're going to teach y'all tonight. It's pretty crazy, some of the stuff that's coming out there now. So what we learned, synthetic marijuana is a compound that actually comes from China. It can come from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Russia, but most of it does come from China. We have talked to the DEA. They actually have an office now in Beijing, and they're trying to work with the Chinese government to get this stuff stopped. And they are, I mean, it's hurting the Chinese people as much as us too, but a lot of this, I feel like, is almost like a terrorist attack. And that's what I like to tell the kids, because they don't realize how dangerous this stuff is. But to me, this is the best way to attack a country, is to get to the young people, future leaders, to kill them off or to ruin their minds, is to get them hooked on this stuff. So to me, it's like a terrorist attack. And of course, then we have our stupid Americans that are buying into the money, and they don't care if they're killing other Americans. We've even had one person tell us he sold it because if they were dumb enough to buy it, then they were dumb enough to die. He didn't care. He was making money. So it's sold, of course, as incense and potpourri, as we all know, packaged to look exciting, and they all say not for human consumption. Synthetic cannabinoids, where did they originally come from? This scientist, Mr. Huffman here, is the one that actually created it. He was the one that was working with this formula to try and mimic THC for cancer patients. He was trying to do something good. Of course, as you know, once something gets on the internet, anybody can get their hands on it, and so other people, other scientists have now mimicked his formula and come up with their own, and that's how all these compounds are being made. All the names, y'all have heard all those street names, probably more than we have. There's so many out there. But as nurses and as doctors, I think all of us were all like, legal weed. That's what every one of our patients would come and say, oh, I just smoked that legal weed. I smoked that legal weed. We didn't know what it was at the time. We were like, what's legal weed? So, and as you find out, it's nothing like what it's supposed to be. The packages, I wanted to point out, because when we went to Austin to testify, we took our board with us all 3 times, or I guess twice. We took it twice. The San Antonio Police, Austin Police, Dallas Police, San Antonio, Houston, all the police from all over were there. And they all said they had not seen any of our packages. All their packages look different. So it's based on the area that it's being made in. They come up with their own packaging. So we thought that was kind of strange, but they said that they had some of the same names, but the designs and the photos and stuff were different. We thought that was kind of weird. So here is, of course, some of y'all brought in this gentleman. This is the e-cigarette version. He died. He was in his 40s. His parents brought us the e-cigarette and that bottle. He coded on us. I think he got 5 over said en route because he was seizing. We got him in the room. We decided he needed a big room, so we took him over to trauma side. I think he went to 1 or 2. Kim Henry was actually in there with him. We thought we got everything under control. Well, he started coding. She starts yelling, I'll go running. We start CPR, get everything, get him back, get him intubated, and I think he coded 1 more time before we got him up to MI, and I think he lived like 2 or 3 days and he died. So, not sure what else. I think he also came in with another package as well as the e-cigarette. So, I wanted to point out this though. These are different packages than what we've seen. So the Psycho Joker, these are probably more for your 20-year-olds, teens. But I wanted to point these out that we luckily have not seen here in Lubbock, or that I personally have not seen. But the Scooby-Doo and Dopey, you know, those are going to be for our little kids. Our teenagers aren't going to be interested in that. So that they are marketing this for the little kids. Did I miss a video? No, I missed something. It doesn't talk. For some reason, this one doesn't have the slide on it.
Which slide?
The one where how it's made.
It's after the video.
Is it after the video? Okay. We'll show the video then. Is that order?
They told me it was going to be, it's exactly the same exact high as weed.
When I first smoked spice, I was extremely high and extremely sick.
I started getting real bad anxiety over it. Just a little shaking, pain in the upper chest.
Sick. I worked to where I had to sit down and just take a rest.
I just sat pretty much on a buddy's couch, and I didn't want to move. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I got really quiet. Sometimes you feel like you're gonna die.
As we did the research in our office, we learned that spice has been around for a number of years. Essentially in the mid-90s, a researcher was looking for a way to create a medicine-type drug for cancer victims. The THC, or the active component ingredient in marijuana, is what the researcher was attempting to mimic with the development of what we call synthetic cannabinoids.
What he discovered was, while he was trying to find this medicine, was something that was so strong it mirrored the THC, but it was 500 to 700 times stronger, and it would have not been useful as a medication.
We understand that cannabinoids are in the marijuana, the natural marijuana plant, has ingredients that really bind to receptors in your brain. He's created something that binds even more tightly and can be even more concerning with regard to the impact on your your brain and your actions. He actually never tested it on humans. He tested it on lab mice and found that he wasn't able to separate the adverse effects of marijuana. And in fact, the synthetic variety was even more addictive and more bound more tightly to the receptors in the brain.
Some of the street names I've heard of is Spice or K2.
Hay or Haze.
There's Twisted Spice, and there's Soulless Spice.
Chiba.
Black Mamba.
And there's one stuff called Judgment Day. It really, explains the name a lot.
I didn't even think about it. Everybody was on it and everybody was doing it.
For the last few years, it's been sold in places like head shops, gas stations, convenience stores, Hardy shops.
When I went to the stores to go and buy it, it was incense. I got this kind or this kind. This smells like blueberry.
And so this stuff's really strong.
Even in the stores that we find spice in, we don't find the little incense carriers. We don't find all these other things. We find spice and we find pipes. We don't find anything to show its use for incense.
It was kind of undercover, because they didn't want anybody to know that it was being used to smoke.
The owner actually told me, he's like, it says not for human consumption. I pretty much knew that was just so that they could get away with selling it.
It's the same thing as if you were to go buy a candle or you were to go buy something else. Many of the ingredients aren't going to be listed on there because people don't smoke candles. You don't put a candle in a pipe and then all of a sudden start smoking it. You don't roll up a candle in rolling papers and start smoking it. It's the same thing. Candles aren't for human consumption, but also on a candle, people don't have to list that because we all grew up knowing candles aren't for human consumption.
It's like a designer drug because it's designed only to have a specific high.
And in fact, the gentleman who was the researcher, the chemist, he's quoted as saying, smoking it is like Russian roulette.
You have an innocent herb with a very dangerous chemical that even the researcher said you'd be an idiot to smoke.
So that kind of gives you a little idea, and I like how they compare it with the candle, because that's, for us, when we go to schools and talk, some of the kids are like, well, if it was sold in the store, it can't be bad, right? How are they selling it? How is it getting around the government? And I kept telling them, you don't understand. Drano is sold in the store too, but you don't go and drink it. It's just, this is the same concept. So it's kind of hard for some of the littler kids to understand. He's going to try and find the right PowerPoint, because I wanted to show y'all actually how this was made. When we go out to schools and normal adults that are non-medical, we don't actually tell them how it's made, but I want y'all to know exactly how this stuff is. So when you buy it on the internet, they will actually send the hopper. They'll send packages, just the plain black packages, and they send all that. You can order all that on the internet. So it'll come as this white powder here, and of course, then you have to get it down to the liquid form. We've heard acetone is the biggest one that they're using, but we've also heard urine, paint thinner, paint stripper, anything with a lot of ammonia that can break this chemical down, and then they can also throw in whatever else they want because they're making it. So you get this from China, you make it into this, and I don't know if anybody noticed how many lawn businesses have spurted up since last summer, but it seems like there was a lot. And the reason why I think is this, because this is just grass. You mow a lawn, pick up weeds, you pick up your leaves, whatever, break it down, dry it out, and then you spray. That's all this stuff is, guys. It's grass. It is weed, I guess. You could call it weed. It's not the plant weed. It's just grass, and this was seized by the DEA here in Texas. So this is pictures all from them. That's how scary this stuff and how easy it is to make. You can probably spend $20,000, $30,000 to get everything you need and turn around and sell this $1 a package, and this machine will pay, you set it to however many grams, 1, 3, or 5, which most packages are, and it'll spit them out a whole bunch at a time. So you're making a huge profit off this junk, killing people. So we'll go past that video. One of the things when we went to the Frisco symposium, we saw some scary stuff. And being in the ER, I always wondered why homeless always have dog food. How many of y'all seen the dog food cans in the homeless bags? A bunch. Well, as you can see here, they had some too. They also have soda cans. It was really nice because there's a lot of the drugs I have never seen in my life. And they at Frisco Police had their table set up. And actually it's Plano Police, sorry. And they had like all the drugs samples so you could see them, what it actually looks like. And then they had some of the paraphernalia. We've heard now they're using crack pipes and stuff now for some of this other stuff. But the dog food cans, these lids actually unscrew, and down inside is where you keep all your drugs. They're nice little containers. Same with the Coke. They've modified those where you can twist the top off. The thing that scared me was this. It's a real lighter, I mean a real highlighter, it works. But the bottom of it here unscrews and the pipe comes out. So kids could be carrying this stuff around, college kids, high school kids, whatever. Kind of scary. And then of course, people are just making them out of everything nowadays, pipes for everything. So we talked about in the video the receptors of CB1 and CB2. Some of y'all probably already know this because y'all are in the medical field, but the receptors in the brain, when we go out, we tell them, you know, it talks about 800 times more potent. What does that mean? That means that it's binding to the brain and it's holding on and it's not letting go. And the brain actually, when it starts coming out of the body, the drug goes out of the body, the brain's craving it. It wants it more. That's why they're getting addicted to this stuff. It's doing so much damage to the brain that they feel like they have to have it. That's why we have these parents that are smoking out the cars and their kids are now brain dead. We had the 16-month-old, I believe, that Charlie can tell y'all about. We're seeing so much stuff. It's secondhand, it's hurting people. We had a nurse on the 3rd floor. We went to school with her at Lubbock Christian. She came up to me, she goes, Jerry, she goes, I gotta talk to you. She said, I had this patient, they were gonna do surgery, but she had cocaine in her system. And they told her they wouldn't do surgery till the cocaine was out. So somebody came and visited her. She started smoking in the room, so they would go running in there. Hey, you know, naughty patient, can't do that. And she said she was only in there about 10 minutes. Well, come to find out it was synthetic. She said when she walked out, for 3 days, she had palpitations, anxiety. She felt like she was gonna die. Her chest would hurt. And she said she still, every once in a while, will have problems. And it's been probably almost close to a year since she's done that. I just saw her just a few weeks ago because my mom fell and broke her hip. So she was telling me she's still having problems. And that was just the one time. She's never done drugs a day in her life, so. I'll let Charlie take it over here.
So back in, sorry, let me just body check her real quick. Back in 2010 was the first case that I specifically remembered having. Like she said, we got all these packets and we were keeping them because it was funny. It was like, oh, look at this. This guy's acting really funny. This package looks really funny. Let's keep it. And in 2010, I had a guy come in. He was about 17, 18 years old. He was brought in by EMS. I remember it was in the summer. His body was really hot to the touch. It was probably about July. He was found hunched over in his truck. His eyes were open, and he wasn't talking to me, but his eyes were open, and that's something that we found later that was a big symptom of the synthetic. They were really wide. They were real bug-eyed. If you've run on these patients, you know what I'm talking about. He looked scared, really big eyes, but he wasn't verbalizing anything. His parents were in the room. Well, me and Dr. Berman, we look at this patient. Dr. Berman's been doing this a while. I've been doing this a little while. Okay, we decide he's having a heat stroke. That's what this is. Okay, so he's having a heat stroke. We go get some medicines. Before we give any medicines, I asked his parents, I said, you know, does he do any kind of drugs? And his dad answered for him and said, no, he doesn't do any drugs. I said, okay. And the kid was awake, he was alert, but he still wouldn't verbalize anything. He wouldn't talk to me. So I went ahead and I pushed some drugs. And then quickly after that, he began having seizures, which we also came later to find out that that's one of the big things that these patients have. We lost his airway. Things got real crazy real fast. Y'all know how that can go. We got him moved over to the trauma side, and his dad took me aside and said, hey, I didn't want to say anything in front of his mom, but he's been smoking synthetic. I said, sir, I really wish you had told me that. you might have just killed your son. I mean, we don't know what this is. And I just gave him drugs, and then he almost immediately starts having a seizure. We don't know what our drugs were doing to him because of all the drugs he had in his system. Well, he later died in the ICU, and that's when it became not funny anymore. That's when it became, okay, this is a problem. My patients are dying. I don't like this. So that's where it kind of changed for me. So the symptoms that you guys have seen out in the field, the big wide eyes. It's not the little glazed half look that you see on TV after they've been smoking pot. It's not that look. It's that wide-eyed look of terror, this big, big eyes. The inability to speak, we're going to show you guys a video of that if you haven't witnessed that. That's kind of how that guy was with me. He could not talk. His eyes were open, lights were on, nobody was home. Psychosis, you guys have seen a lot of that, where they are just acting crazy. The temperature rises. You remember when I said he was just really hot to the touch? If they're spiking a fever and they're acting crazy and they can't talk to you, 9 times out of 10 they're on synthetic. It's just something that goes along with it. We've seen the temperatures get up to 109 degrees. Their pulse rate gets really high. They go into SVT with 220s. Their blood pressure goes real high. At one point, they just start clamping, and their arms and legs will actually start to go blue and mottled while they're still alive because the heart's going so fast that no blood's going anywhere. I have had a 30-year-old patient up on the floor who's he needs dialysis now because his kidneys are shot, and he's waiting on a kidney now from smoking synthetic. So we have had them. If you do live, if you do make it out, you might have, organ failure. That's what we're seeing too. If you are lucky, you get really bad abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting. The seizures are 50-50. We've seen them come in, they had one seizure, that was it, they're fine, they go home. We've had them come in, they will not stop seizing, we cannot get them to stop seizing. The neurologists get them and say that we try to flatline the brain, and then they'll try to slowly bring them out of it, and they still seize. So seizures go with both of them, but it's 50-50. You're going to be okay or you're not. The biggest one we see is the death. If it doesn't kill you right away, go into cardiac arrest, it might kill you later with organ failure.
That's all about mixing drugs in there.
So inside this compound that Jerry's been talking about, and Jerry can say the names better than me.
Dichlormethanol, methanol, chloroform, and propanolol is one of the newest ones.
So they're mixing those drugs in the synthetic drugs, in the compound. We've had 3 confirmed cases of brain bleeds after smoking synthetic. So there you go. You can also have a brain bleed. The ketamine, when you guys got the ketamine protocol to try to help knock them down a little bit, they started mixing ketamine in the synthetic. So then we'd give them some more ketamine on the truck or in the ER, and then they just code. They just couldn't take it. I did have one patient last week, and this is the best outcome that I've ever seen. He was brought in from the lobby, like they found him out in the street, right in front of the ER, brought him in. He's got that inability to speak, the wide eyes, the fighting, the kicking, and we were giving him 2 of Ativan every 10 to 15 minutes. And usually, the Ativan doesn't work, but it worked on this patient. We were able to keep him down, we were able to get him intubated, and then we continued to give him 2 Ativan every 15 minutes. And we were able to keep that tube in. A lot of times when we give them, all this sucks and all this propofol and all this Versed and fentanyl, and they finally get quiet, and we start to think, okay, I can breathe, I'm really tired. They sit up, spit the tube out, and break the restraints. I've had somebody do that on me. It's like you give them all these drugs and nothing happens. Their brain is burning it off too fast, I think. So the Ativan seemed to work. I'm not a doctor. I don't know why Dr. Morris chose to do that, but it worked. The guy was able to stay sedated. So when we go in and we talk to the young kids, we like to go in and explain to them what happens when you go out to have a good time. So you went out to have a good time. You got into some drugs because you felt like that was going to be a good thing for you. So we bring all our props and we show them what we do to you when you get to the ER. We talk about,
oh look, a slingshot.
Yeah. The boys. I said, do you know where this go? And they said, down your mouth. I said, no, wrong end.
Oh, it won't fit down there. Trust me, it will.
They get
the
all.
little girl
They get
starts
really.
laughing. Honey, it'll fit down there too.
They get really serious when we start talking about the tubes and the IVs and that when your heart stops, we have to break your ribs in order to give you good compression. So we try to bring the real deal to them and tell them what we do. We showed them, pictures of our trauma rooms. You guys know all this. Like I talked about ketamine, Ativan, all these drugs before. So, you want to do the videos? So these are a couple of videos that we have for you guys. The first one, these folks were driving here. They were behind a car. We
don't know if this is Summer or winter. She's in shorts and he's in an insulated coveralls. So
she doesn't know where she is.
She sure's got the boots though.
She gonna put on those dance. Looks like she spoiled her pants.
Wow.
Here in a second, she's gonna lick her own armpit.
Here it comes.
And there it is. So we tell the kids,
Beautiful.
that's called having a good time. Licking your own armpit. So this next one, this young man is at the bottom of a staircase. He's covered in blood. His pants are also soiled. And this gives you guys a real good idea of that inability to speak, if you haven't witnessed that. You can see there's blood on the wall behind him. Like he's trying to reach out for help, like he's trying to say something.
But this is a good time.
Yeah, this is called going out and have a good time. We
If
tell
y'all
him
were trying to go up to help him right now, he'd probably kick your butt.
And we try to tell him again, who do you think's videoing that? His friends. These are your friends videoing this. They don't care if you're laying there dying. So some other drugs that you may have come in contact with, but you may not have known it. We have the N-Bomb 25 Eyes in Lubbock. The only way you're going to know if you have this is if somebody that's with them that did it tells you. These are dissolvable on the little wafers. So if they ingested it and there's no packaging like these lovely packages we have here, it's going to be harder for you to know what they took, unless somebody's like, hey, yeah, we got these 25 eyes and we took them, and then, homegirl went down. So unless they tell you, it's going to be a little different. But they come in these little wafers here. You can put this on candy, sugar cubes. It can be in a powder, a liquid. You can lace stuff with it. So they can get synthetic marijuana and lace it with these. These are super strong hallucinogens. The symptoms are kind of the same. They have a lot of the same, like the paranoia, the anxiety, the inability to speak, the psychosis, the nausea, vomiting, the seizures. They're almost exactly alike. The only thing that's different with these that we've seen in research is suicide. These hallucinations become so real and so bad that these patients actually commit suicide. Dakota Dyer was from Georgia. We met his dad when we went down to Austin to change the laws. His dad's been fighting this since Dakota decided to go out and have a good time. He decided to get a hold of some drugs. He's a good-looking kid. He's described as, wanting to look good for those ladies, spent a lot of time in the bathroom fixing that hair. He was on the football team. He was worried he was going to get drug tested. So the guy that sold him this stuff said, hey, you can't find this on a drug test. So he thought it was safe. Kids want to make mistakes. They want to go out and they want to have a good time. Dakota texted his dad and said, Dad, I've got to make it stop. I'm sorry. So Lance went home and he found Dakota and he'd shot himself in the face in front of a mirror. Now, less than 1% of all suicides are done in front of a mirror. That right there tells me Dakota was not depressed. Dakota did not have emotional problems. He took a drug that made him see something so bad that he had to take his own life. 2 years ago from today, Montana's dad went out of town. Him and his two brothers and his friend, they wanted to have a good time. They wanted to get into something. They wanted to do shrooms. Well, their drug dealer couldn't get them shrooms, darn it. But I got something better. I got an M-bomb. It's the same thing. You'll like it. Okay. So all of the boys take the same hit of N-bomb at the same time. Montana drops down dead, and the other boys ended up in the ICU. Now, why did Montana die? When we talk about the way that this is made, it's not made, you know, measured out, all separated and equal. It's just thrown together, and it's just like playing Russian roulette. That's what we tell the kids. You never know what you're going to get until you pull that trigger. Montana got the bullet 2 years ago from today. All of them tried it. He got the bullet. And just like we don't know what it's going to do in your body, we don't know what's in it, first of all, but we don't know how it's going to react to your body, you'll never know until you pull the trigger. I've got a bath salts video for you guys.
I have had suicidal thoughts.
Kids need to understand that they're basically playing Russian roulette with their brain.
Very addictive. Very quickly addictive.
It is extremely dangerous. I just can't imagine that anyone would take these drugs if they just Googled it and found out how many people had killed themselves.
You know, there's always something about that phone call that comes in the middle of the night that you know something's wrong.
It's like being in a coma almost. It's like you're turning into a vegetable. You can't do anything. You are deteriorating. It's like you're dying.
A cleaner. That's what I think of a bath salt.
Sounds like something you put in your bathtub.
It definitely is a drug. It comes mostly made overseas, but they're now making it locally.
We did have 2,700 emergency room visits specific to extreme acute intoxication and poisoning.
The active drug in it is what's called MDPV, which is methyldoxine pyrovaleron. It's a very strong hallucinogenic. Increases a person's heart rate and blood pressure very high to dangerous levels. If there's any cardiac problem at all, it can cause them to die.
Compared to, say, a prescription amphetamine, like Ritalin, which people are very familiar with, we're talking about a toxicity and a potency 100, 150, 200 times.
And it's sold commercially at head shops, smoke shops, or you can buy it on the internet.
People, in period, should just stay away from it.
This stuff is so dangerous. It only takes one time.
Bath salts are really looked at like amphetamines, cocaine, ecstasy, on steroids, wrapped into a nice little package that can cause psychiatric symptoms relatively quickly.
Some of the legal drugs sold out there are worse than the ones on the street.
I would think that it was safe only because there's a reason why it's not illegal, or maybe people just think of it as something else and people sell it as something that is legal.
If I saw a drug that was legal, I would think it was safe just because it's legal.
We're not sure what these chemicals are. They're just supposed to be, you know, lookalikes. They act the same, but I mean, it's not. It's all new chemicals that people are coming out with.
That's also one of the many emerging designer drugs, which basically are made in clandestine labs by chemists who can get around the law by making a substance just enough different from an already illegal drug that it's legal.
The people that sell these drugs know they're not bath salts. They're not even packaged in a quantity that would be like a bath salt.
Yeah, sometimes with bath salts, they're sold in like jars, so I would think like that big maybe.
About the size?
This big or something?
And the names are very benign. Vanilla Haze, Aura.
Down to Earth, Bliss, Ivory Wave, Ocean, Blossom.
So something that the girl that's blacked out in the video says is that some of the legal drugs out there are worse for you than the illegal drugs. So I have to tell you all about my really cute crackhead. She was adorable. She was really small, like a crackhead. And, you know, I was talking to her and I was like, so do you do any drugs? And she's like, I smoke crack. I was like, oh really? Okay. And I was like, how often do you do that? She goes, every chance I get. I said, okay, well thank you for your honesty. What about synthetics? Do you use any of those synthetic drugs? And she looked at me and she said, no honey, those will kill you. Thank you, Mrs. Crackhead. Like, they even get that those are so bad. Down in Frisco, the cops were telling us these, like, it's really bad when you have to tell people that are hooked on heroin that the regular heroin is a lot better for you than this synthetic heroin. Like, that's how bad it is that the cops have to tell the people that. So Flakka is kind of a new fancy form of bath salt. Y'all all remember the guy in Florida that ate the homeless man's face? He got shot, and he kept coming. He got shot a couple times in the chest, but didn't go down until he got shot in the head, and we had a little zombie scare. He was on bath salts. Flakka is just a new fancy name for a different form of bath salts. It started in Florida, but it is in Texas. We have had people coming in saying that they are on Flakka. We're going to have Brianne talk about the candy. Oh, I did read a research article that's talking about, because you can get this in Afghanistan as well, the research article was talking about how the Afghans are giving it to the Afghani soldiers before they go into battle. They put it in their cheek like chew, and because you're out of your head and your body doesn't realize that you've been shot or you've been cut up or you've been pretty badly wounded, you can keep fighting. So they were giving it to the soldiers so that they could come after our guys and get pretty badly injured and still keep fighting. I thought that was interesting.
And that article is on our Facebook page, the one she's talking about.
So we tell all the kids when we go to the schools about how they're putting synthetic drugs in candy and treats and stuff now, because the drug dealers want people to get addicted so that they have more customers. So we went to Ropes a few weeks ago because we go to a lot of schools. The junior high speech teacher made the kids do an essay on our presentation. And I cannot tell you how many of those kids, because they gave us all copies of their essays, there was so many kids that said, I didn't realize that a drug dealer would lie to you so that they could make money. They said if they would have said, hey, this is good for you, it's not going to hurt you, they said I probably would have tried it, but I'm not going to now. So kids don't know any better, obviously. But they are putting it in candy and stuff. So this is one of the stuff that we got from Denver Police, because in Colorado it's really big now because the regular marijuana is taxed so much there that they're using a lot of synthetic. So kids can no longer bring any treats, drinks. They can't bring anything to school that they can eat or drink because they've had so many problems with synthetics being in stuff. So there's synthetic marijuana in one of these. Do y'all know which one it's in? One or two? I don't know. They didn't tell us which one, but there is one in one of them. They are putting it in drinks now. Obviously, there's a little marijuana plant on there. There's little mints that say that they have cannabis infused, and then little gummies. So all these things are being sold. We got all this stuff from the DEA's office. There's Stony Ranchers. Little kids can't read whenever they're little, so they don't know. They just know it's little candy. There's Pop-Tarts that say 3 times the strength. Obviously, those aren't regular. We've seen a lot of Reese's Pieces cookies, and then there's marshmallow rice cakes that they're also doing. We've had a man in Levelland and one here in Lubbock that have been driving around in a van trying to hand out candy to little kids. And it was on Kim Street in Levelland, and her neighbor knew that we'd been doing this stuff, so she took it away from her kid so that she didn't eat it. We've had a 5-year-old come in that mom brought him in, said he was acting really funny. They didn't know what was wrong with him, but he wasn't himself, and she didn't know what was wrong with him. So we asked all the questions. Did you do anything different? Did he eat anything different? Mom said no. So then she said the only thing that we did was go to the playground. Well, the older sibling was 7 or 8. They said, well, we took candy from a kid on the playground. So they think that it had synthetic in it because now drug dealers are giving candy and treats to kids and having them handed out on the playground. Because y'all all know whenever your kids are out on the playground, they make best friends in 5 minutes and they'll do whatever. So that's how they're getting it to little kids now. This is right outside of Plainview. It's just south of Plainview. This Camaro was driving north towards Plainview. This is on the left side of the road. He was driving north, went over the median, into oncoming traffic, over that median, onto the access road, through that median, and took out this fence that was right next to Kim's grandparents' house. They weren't home. Glad that he didn't hit the house, but whenever they got there, they said that he was acting really weird. They didn't know what was wrong with him, but he was not acting right. So when they got the police report, it said in quotations that he said there was a huge gerbil in the road. He was on synthetic.
We grow them big in Texas. Watch for gerbils when you go to Plain.
So that's why there's this little gerbil down here. It says cute, furry, and deadly because that was his excuse. So, I don't know how many of y'all have worked out in Abernathy. My husband's a sergeant out there. He got a call from dispatch saying that they might possibly have a drunk driver coming from Plainview towards Abernathy and to just be watching out for him, gave him the make and model of the car and everything. The constable also heard it. So Constable Mark Mole stopped it right before it got to Abernathy. And so my husband went and assisted him. They finally got consent to search the vehicle. All of this stuff was in the back of the car. There's little caramels and mints that you find at the movie theater. There's root beers. They have, are we going to talk about dabbing? There's some stuff that you do the dabbing with, little waxes and stuff, THC waxes. But all of this stuff got confiscated from this car, and it was on the way. There was 3 people, and they were all going to a movie theater here in town with all this stuff, because this is all the stuff that you find at the movie theater.
Didn't they work at the movie theater?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were going to sell it. Not anymore.
To a special showing.
Yep. So,
I'm not going to tell you which movie theater.
It was a sit-down theater.
Yep. But we stressed a lot to the kids, all the schools that we went to before Halloween, not to take candy from strangers. We told all the older kids, don't let your little younger siblings take candy or anything from other people. We've had 2 12-year-olds come in with full-blown seizures. So we're trying to stress to the kids a lot, don't take candy. We've had kids come in with seizures from high school. They're now using apples and coring the apples out at school and smoking synthetic in the bathrooms, because we've had guys come in with seizures from smoking synthetic in the bathrooms. And when we go to the schools, we've had janitors and teachers say, oh, that's why we're getting so many apples in the bathrooms now. So some schools don't even have apples in their cafeteria anymore because of that. And then we'll let Vern talk to you about fentanyl.
So what we've been talking about already has been the synthetic compounds. The cannabinoids, which is everything in this case except the silver package over here, and that's a cathinone. So the synthetics, the cannabinoids are very similar to THC. You have to smoke them and vaporize them in the smoke to get the effects. Where the cathinones are your bath salts, your synthetic hallucinogens, and all that other kind of stuff. So you're going to hear me talking about the cannabinoids and the cathinones here in a little bit more in a few minutes. But I'm going to kind of divert a little bit to some things that are very scary to me and kind of scary to you guys, hopefully, after you kind of hear what I'm saying. Did you know, who's given fentanyl in here before? Now, it's a stupid question, but who's given fentanyl in here before? Okay, everybody raise their hand. Okay. Did you know you can buy fentanyl over the internet? You know you can buy 3 grams of fentanyl over the internet for $100? They'll send it to you in a little bitty package about the size of a salt package. 3 grams. How much fentanyl do we give? We give micrograms. Okay, I work with anesthesia, and we give some long cases. We give quite a bit of fentanyl. Okay, 3 grams. It's just like, really. But you can buy this stuff, pure grade fentanyl. Just like same stuff here. They're made in clandestine labs, not the real perfect, drug companies like Charlie was talking about. People are making this stuff. This is just 3.2 milligrams. This is a fatal dose of fentanyl. They'll heat this stuff up, inject it, respiratory arrest, and they die. People are shooting themselves up with grams, milligrams of fentanyl. Okay, that's scary to me, but if that's what they want to do, that's their choice. But that's a lot of fentanyl. I can't imagine giving that stuff with anesthesia. I mentioned this to one of our anesthesiologists one day. She had to sit down. She did you're kidding me. It's like, no, I'm not. You can buy this stuff over the internet. But this is what's scary for me, for you guys. In these clandestine labs where they make this fentanyl, this pure grade fentanyl, when they go in to investigate or when they go in to clean up, you have to go in in a level A suit. We were told that you cannot just have a regular paper, a regular respirator. These labs, the toxicity in these labs will eat through a respirator in 10 minutes. It'll eat through a Tyvek suit in 20 minutes. So these guys are going in, investigators, police, EMS, if we got to go in there and drag people out, going in a full decon, and only going to be in there 10, 15 minutes because the way the stuff is made, it's eating through our stuff. So that's a danger to you guys. It's a danger for them in the ER with these people coming in with this stuff on them. I mean, it's a full decon right there, just know about it. This stuff is here in Texas. It's being made here, but you can buy this over the internet for $100. Have it to your door in a couple of days. Kind of scary to me, guys. Who's heard about crocodile? Crocodile. Crocodile is very popular in Eastern Europe, in Russia. It's very easily made. It's very similar made to like methamphetamines. When people inject it, it creates a little scaly portion on the skin. I'll show you a picture in a minute. So when people inject it everywhere, it kind of gives you this scaly skin and it looks like crocodile skin. But it's very, very toxic. It's very tissue necrotic. And your expected life expectancy with this, if you were to use it and survived at 6 months, your life expectancy is less than 5% after 6 months of using this chronically. It's made from codeine, iodine, lighter fluid, diesel fuel usually, some type of cleaning fluid or paint thinner, gasoline, and red phosphorus. Okay, we're kind of, now the laws have changed, we're kind of giving out a lot of codeine nowadays. It's very easily made. You get your little burner, get your little mixer stuff, just like you do methamphetamine. It's very similar. You can make this stuff up very easily. You can have a batch made in less than an hour if you have all the materials. It's very highly impure. It's very toxic, very combustible. It's injected into the vein, arms, whatever. But the main place that in Eastern Europe where they love to inject this stuff is in the femoral veins, the femoral arteries. Okay, we're seeing people that have rotting flesh on their arms because of this. We can cut arms and legs off, but when it gets up in here, it's rotting them from the inside. You can't amputate up in here. Very scary stuff. The scaly skin, the tissue here. We've had cases brought into us here to the burn center from Midland and from Eastern New Mexico. The one that I saw, his arm, he had a black hand, it was dead. You can see bone and fibrous tissue kind of up above to the elbow, and that's all there was. It was down to the bone and just the fibrous connective tissue. We ended up taking him off high shoulder amputation. He lived or died, I can't remember.
One was lived. Two brothers.
Yeah, two brothers. One lived, one died, but that's how bad it is. I mean, we're doing the one cure that we can give here, but it's not helping. This is how bad this stuff is. It's rotting flesh.
And these pictures are mild. If you
care to go Google some really good ones.
Yeah, Google it.
Let's talk about butane hash oil. Who's heard about butane hash oil? You think it's here in Lubbock, Texas? Yes, it is. It's been in Lubbock. It's been in use since the 60s. It kind of went away, but now it's gaining popularity again. Butane hash oil, what this is you take regular marijuana, you put it into like a turkey baster, some type of cylinder, buy some liquid butane. I was walking through Sam's the other day and saw a whole box of it and went, Jerry, look, you're selling butane, the big old cans and stuff. It's like, they don't know what they're selling. I look at things very weirdly some days. Put some cheesecloth on the other end, pack it full of regular marijuana, squirt the liquid butane in there, and what drips out is this butter-looking stuff, this honey. It strips 100% of the THC off the marijuana plant. Okay, let's just talk about proof here like with alcohol. Regular marijuana, let's say, is anywhere from 7 to 10 proof. But this process of injecting it through there and stripping off all the THC, it concentrates the THC down to like a 70 to 90% concentration. Okay, there's no documented research from somebody dying from just smoking regular weed. If you're going to die from it, it's because you did something stupid afterwards. You either drove, or you passed out, you aspirated, or done something stupid. But from the THC itself, no, there's nothing out there. Now there is. People are doing the butane hash oil. One hit off of a bong, I'll show you what they're called, oil rigs, right here. One hit at 80 proof THC, that'll last you for days. But we're having people who do this all night long. They're overdosing on THC and dying. It's gaining popularity here. I saw this rig, not this rig, but one very similar, at the fair a couple months ago. Plus a bunch of other stuff there. But yeah, you could buy this oil rig. What they do, you save 1 can of butane so you could light it up, but this is a nail. You superheat it to where it's red. You take either some of the honey or the brittle here, put it on there, it superheats it, vaporizes it, you put the lid on it, and then you start your bong. You drag on the bong. That's how you do it.
When we were at Cooper the other day, some kids told me we dab all the time and we're just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So high school kids are using this.
What this does, it concentrates to 79%, like I said. Different types of rigs, that kind of stuff. It's here, it's gaining popularity. I'm not sure why it's coming back, but it is. It's very popular in the DFW area, and it's becoming more and more popular here. You know, like you said, we have these kids at Cooper High School saying, we do this all the time.
They're not shy about it.
They're not shy.
They do it.
When they asked them, like, how many have done drugs? Everybody's hand went up almost. How many's done synthetics or know about it? Almost everybody's hand went up. I don't get it. Very dangerous stuff. But here's the scary part for us. Okay, liquid butane. You have to let it dry. You have to evaporate the butane or you're going to blow yourself up. Well, some of these guys are stupid enough to put it in a refrigerator, let it dry, open their fridge to get their stuff out. That's a heavy gas. What's on the bottom of the refrigerator running? Or you're walking across the floor, static electricity. They're blowing themselves up. Okay, they blow themselves up. But what if you guys are going in and you don't know, if you open the refrigerator, you might just blow yourself up. You don't know. Here's a bunch of, bunch of cans down here. Bunch of cans here. Look at this. He's just in somebody's refrigerator. Very volatile, very explosive. Oh, look at all those cans. This guy's been busy. Blew that house up. Here's a little local fire. This is scary for me, for you guys. A long time ago, when I was doing, riding out as a paramedic, a long time ago, my friends used to drag me into fire. My firefighter friends would drag me in with them and stuff. It's like, my third time, I made it in, came right back out, sat on the engine, and said, no, I'm done. Can't do this anymore. I very respect you guys for doing that. This scares me, knowing this now, that any of us could walk in and just unknowingly just open something or check, see if it's on, and just explode on you again. This is here in Lubbock, Texas. There's a bunch of other things that are coming out that they don't have time to tell you about, but these are things that are trending very highly here in our West Texas area. Talk a little bit about the legislation that we were a part of. September 1st, the laws changed. Back in February, we were asked to go to Austin to educate our legislators. We spent 2 days at the Capitol talking to legislators, their aides, anybody who would talk to us. We got invited back about a month later saying, hey, would you guys testify on some bills for synthetics? And those were Senate bills 172, 173, and 461. 72 and 73 were laws that classified all these compounds, the cannabinoids and the cathinones. Just the cathinones alone with 172, there's over 50,000 known combinations of how to make a cathinone. Okay? The problem was with our laws is you could not line item every one of these things out. So when like Lubbock would line item a drug, somebody come in and change it a little bit. Okay? Easy to get around this, not anymore. The guys that we were working with from Houston Forensics and Cayman Chemicals, who reverse engineers a lot of chemicals and drugs and identifies things for the FBI and DEA, they came down with these cathinones down to one basic root compound. So 20, 30,000 combinations down to one root compound. Ooh, that's pretty smart. The synthetics, cannabinoids, 173, there's almost 300,000 known different combinations now. These guys brought it down to 3 different base root compounds. Okay, so we have hundreds of thousands of different synthetic compounds, now down to 4 basic root things. Very easy to write laws with instead of having a stack of papers from here to the ceiling. You got a nice little bill here. Everything falls into it. 99.8% of everything that is known will fall into this. And I'll get to the other beauty part of that here in a second. 461 is the punishment phase. Before September 1st, they could confiscate the stuff, slap you on the wrist saying, don't do this or we'll be back. No fines, no jail time, no nothing. They just took the stuff. 461 was a bill put forth by our local legislator, our Senator, Charles Perry. He heard Jerry talking one day about this at Voices, a little thing that she went to, and he just went hook, line, and sinker on this and came up with this bill. It is now the highest felony charge that we can impose in the state of Texas, right below capital punishment. It's a PG-1. PG-1s used to carry, or they still do carry, a punishment, jail time of 2 to 20 years, plus a $10,000 fine. 461 put the 2 to 20 years on there, but it also made a difference. It put a fine of $25,000 per package. So you got some of these guys, these distributors who have hundreds of thousands of packages in their stores. Here's $100,000. We're finally hitting their pocketbooks. Throwing them in jail for 20 years per instance, per package. For manufacture, distributing, sell, use, possession, whatever you want to call it. That's the law now. That's the punishment phase. So we can easily identify all these drugs. We can put them away for a very long time. Our local law enforcement and DEA and DPS, they're making cases. It's taking time to get these people. But what they're wanting to do is to take the big guys out who are distributors and then work their way down. You take the guys who have all these packages and sell them, take that away, it decreases the amount that's being sold. But it takes time. Now those that didn't fall into 172 or 73, House Bill 1212. This bill was put forth by Representative Fort Price from Amarillo. Ooh, we have 2 guys from West Texas doing a lot of stuff for this. This gave the emergency scheduling powers to the governor and to the head of the Department of Health that once DPS identifies something that wasn't already classified in one of these 2 bills, that DPS now has a lab that can identify something in 48 hours. Once they fill out the paperwork, get it to the governor, he signs, and the health department guy signs. 48 hours later, it becomes law, just like everything else. These are all now Scheduled 1 compounds. You can't write a prescription for them. We can't even do research without having a ton of paperwork, and then you probably won't get it. It puts all this that's out here in the same category as heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, the list goes on. It's now real as of September 1st. But any of these in 1212 that were identified, they became Scheduled 1s immediately, so when the next legislative session comes in, all they do is amend the bill, it's positive law right then, guaranteed. We went down and testified twice on the compound, or on these compounds in 2 different sessions. When we walked in, there were some families there, there was some law enforcement, the guys from Harris Forensics and Cayman Chemicals. But Jerry and I we were the ones who went to the first, and we're looking around, it's like, something's not right here. People were talking and testifying, then we realized there was no medical representation here. There was no physician, no hospital, no ENA, no EMS, nobody, nothing, except 2 little nurses from West Texas. We told them how it was, what we were seeing in the ER, and they listened. We went back again in May to testify again, and that's what you see here. Charlie went with us this time. First time we went into a room like this, real fancy mahogany, half moon kind of thing, like a conference room. We went back the second time. They didn't tell us where we were at until we get there. Oh, we're holding these hearings on the Senate floor of the state of Texas, in Austin at the Capitol. Who's been on the floor of the Senate or the House at our Capitol in Austin? Not very many people. A bunch of people have been up in the, hey, you're making me look bad now. You just don't get on the floor very often. We walk in, it's like, I walk into the door and I stop one. And they're trying to pull me along, and it's like, I don't get nervous when I talk, whatever, but at that point, I got nervous. I didn't want to move, and they're like, and these two little girls who were at the door were saying, "Sir, you need to move." It's like, I can't move, so they're pulling me in like this. And it was very, very surreal for a moment. We all started this at the first of the year. We've been doing this maybe 11 months now. I would never thought this would go where it was when we started with our research project almost 2 years ago. We do our research, we do our outreach to schools, businesses, any community groups, churches, Lions clubs, whatever, to fellow nurses, to fellow EMS, law enforcement, physicians, whatever. We tailor our presentations to the group we're talking about. You guys just got our full canned, everything that we tell everybody. Now, if we go to schools, like they said, we don't tell them how it's made or where you can go get it. We try to go tell them enough information that we can give them a choice to make a right choice, not a right choice, but an informed choice. It's like I'm going to show, watching G.I. Joe growing up cartoons, what was their saying? Knowing's half the battle. Well, if you give somebody the information to make a good choice, that's about the best we can do. Either they're going to choose it, to do it, or they're going to sit here and go, I remember those crazy nurses saying, they're going to cut my jeans off, cut my boots off, they're going to put something like this down there, no they're not, yeah, we will, and do all this kind of stuff, and maybe you're going to die. Well, if that sticks in their brain, and when they're given a choice, and they remember us and don't do it, we've won. When we went to Health Center back in May, we did our presentation to the high school there. We've been to Health Center 4 times in the last year for different things. We were talking to these seniors in this one group, and their biggest, tallest, hugest offensive lineman or defensive lineman, he and his buddies were in the back, and the girls were talking, and they were carrying on back there, so I went and sat in there between them and brought them back in. Before we left, this bunch of guys come up, and the biggest one says, "Vern, we want to thank you." Well, first of all, he knew my name. He remembered my name. Okay, it's kind of weird. He says, "We want to thank you because you saved our lives." And I'm going, "Saved your life?" Explain. He says, "Well, he and his 5 buddies, we were going to go out Friday, buy some of this stuff, and we were going to party Saturday. Not now. Knowing that we could die or wind up like this, no, you just saved our lives." I started crying. Even now, just talking about it, it's like, wow, we have really made a difference. I made a difference. Not just for the laws, for my fellow citizens in the state of Texas, but the kids out here in our community. Texas has the best, most inclusive laws against synthetics in the United States. There are states who are going to copy what we've done in their next legislative session coming up. So it's going to get better and better. If we can get into China, if the DA can go to China and put an office there to affect this, we can make a difference. Never thought that ever happened. When the district chief told me that we got an office in China in Beijing, I went, "No, you don't." He goes, "Yeah, we do." He pulls it up on his phone. It's like, "See." Like, it was just crazy. But what?
You said your goofy laugh.
I know, my goofy laugh. But these things, they're being sold, marketed to kids. When you look at this, I can appreciate the art. Some of it's pretty good, but if you look at this stuff, what's the underlying message? To me, it's dark, it's sinister, it's death. It's even kind of funny, too. This package, nothing on the front, just has some words on the back. Let me read it. This is my comic relief here.
This was right after September 1st.
Yeah. Warning, not for consumption. Consumption of this product can cause serious illness and/or death. Contact poison control immediately. Keep out of reach of children. Intimate aromas promotes safe sex. Be safe, wear a condom. I am not joking. Smoke this stuff, but wear a condom. This stuff does not smell good. That's why you see it with blueberry, grape, or whatever. You guys can come up here and smell these things. You're not going to get anything off of it because you're not vaporizing it. But when they smoke this stuff, maybe you guys are smelling on them, it don't smell good. The one down here at the bottom, it's biohazard. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years as a nurse and different things. I think I have a pretty good gag reflex. I smelled that and I had to go run for a trash can. It was pretty much, it was the worst thing I've ever smelled.
Tell them about your truck.
I bought a new truck this summer because my son wrecked my old one. And we went on a trip somewhere and I stuck this case in the back seat. And it was kind of warm that day. And we went in to eat lunch or something, left it out in the heat. We came back. My brand new truck, not even 2 weeks old, smelled like this crap. It took me weeks to get it out. I left the windows down and stuff like that. But what was even the more bizarre thing is this liquid cigarette, the liquid for the e-cigarette. It had heated up to where it had evaporated inside there and it formed a fog on the inside. When I got home, I wiped it off, put the case back together. For like the next 2 months, even sitting in the ER hanging on the wall, it would create this fog. Finally, I finally figured out what was causing this, so I emptied it all out. I didn't realize there was anything in there. Oops, bad me. But this stuff is not going to go away. It's gone underground just like everything else. But we are making a difference.
We're learning more and more that they're starting to lace regular marijuana with this stuff to get people addicted.
Yeah. And they're also putting things in it like ketamine or propranolol to counteract the side effects. You know, the tachycardia, the high blood pressure, the anxiety, those kind of things. And they're even putting them...
This is your best reference right there.
Yeah. They're even putting these things like on Listerine strips, like the little things you put on your tongue for breath. They're selling those now. You can buy that over the internet. I take you to a website and you can buy thousands of these packages sent to your door. They don't come from China. Yeah, the chemical may come from China, not so much anymore. People are making it here in America. But even if they do order from China, it's not the Chinese who are selling it to us. It's a free market society. You can buy anything you want on the internet. It's Americans buying this stuff, Americans putting it together, Americans selling it to their friends, so it's Americans killing Americans.
And there is a drug test for it now.
Yeah,
there is a drug test. Not that we can do in the hospital, because it's very expensive and it takes 48 hours. But there are a couple of labs here in Texas. One's with the DPS, another one's in Houston.
Well, Lubbock Cooper says they have a drug test. They are testing their kids for synthetics now because they had such a problem with it.
What they're doing is just seeing if it kind of even has, it's not giving you an identity, a line, you know, of what the chemical is, but it's kind of like a urine drug screen. Or you're like a pregnancy test. You're either pregnant or not, or you're on synthetics or not. But we can't use those in the hospital yet because the FDA has not certified them for use in our area. I wish we did, because that could help us just immediately know whether we need to treat these a little differently or not treat, or we can treat them or not. You know, it's almost not knowing what we do, but if we had something that easy, it'd make it a whole lot better. It's coming. Sir?
So you're saying right now that synthetic is not testing positive in blood or urine?
Correct. You can send it off. Not in the hospital. You can send it off 48 hours to 6 weeks later, you might have a result, yes.
Patient might be dead by then.
You'd be dead by then. But in the acute care like we provide, there's nothing there.
That's all synthetic.
All this is synthetic. That's the cathinones, that's the cannabinoids, that's the synthetic hallucinogens, that's your, all that stuff. You know, fentanyl's still going to pop positive for opioids. Crocodile, I have no idea what that might pop up on the drug screen.
Well, it should. Is it opioids?
Is it opioid? Because the codeine's in there.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
That's why the kids started doing it, because the athletes and people in band and all that, they get drug tested. So they started doing the synthetic and legal because they got told that it wasn't going to show up on their drug test.
So we're continuing our outreach. Anywhere we go out, it's a free service that we provide from UMC to schools, businesses, anywhere who wants to hear us. We just make every effort to go as a request. The only thing that we ask is give us at least 6 weeks of a date, because some of us still have to work full time. The others only work on call. But usually if we can get a date out 6 weeks, we can pretty much make it. Because I got to make sure these guys in the ER get their schedule arranged. I got to make sure I've got stuff covered, and Jerry's on call so she can kind of go and come as she pleases, with her schedule. But besides increasing our outreach, we're also increasing, we've got some things coming up. We have a symposium that you guys may have a card or a piece of paper on. Designer Drugs That Kill, February 20th. It's on a Saturday. It'll be at Lubbock Christian University at the new nursing building there in their auditorium. It's an all-day conference. If you got the sheet of paper, it kind of tells you the agenda on the back of what we're going to have there. It's $25 for the conference. It's just mainly to underwrite the C&E application and that kind of stuff. So that's coming up. Trying to get research approval through UMC and through the IRB to do a data, or just to look back over the last year, 6 months, just to look at our true numbers of what we're seeing, and also using what information you guys have and look and seeing what you're picking up, what we're keeping in ER, what's coming back, and what are the outcomes. Just basic numbers. I'm not looking to do any medical research or whatever. I just want to report numbers, because I did a paper back in May, or back in the summer, that the health department and poison control here in the state of Texas, over 3 years, they reported numbers of synthetic use. The total of 3 years on both of those entities, just looking back at what we did in 3 months at our peak, we saw more, just for us keeping kind of numbers and just tabs in on our heads and things, we were seeing more than what they reported for 3 years. Something's not right there. We have to be able to report these to a point where we can get even more attention from our legislators, not just at the state level, but from the federal level. Until we get true numbers of reporting, we're not going to make much further headway, but we're making some.
We do have a chance coming up this year to go to Washington, so we are going to do that, and hopefully we'll get to go testify there again.
So, those are things coming. We also have a potential to have a drug sniffing dog, a grant that we have been put into the running for that to be brought here to West Texas. There's only 6 of these dogs that are going to meet with these grants. There's only 2 dogs that I know of in the United States that have already been trained to sniff out synthetics. That's the cannabinoids and the caffeinoids. And I think that's huge that we're in the final running for one of those 6 dogs.
If we get it, we'll be the only city in the state of Texas to have one.
Has that. Yep. So that's kind of what we're doing. I guess we can open up for questions now. We'll try to answer. Y'all probably have some good ones. When we go out to the kids, they really have some great questions. So, going once? Twice? Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank y'all for coming tonight, and certainly thank you for all the outreach you've done. Like you said, you've heard about the few of those people you've touched, but I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, that you never hear about. Yeah. So certainly thank all of you for what you've done.
It's gone, like I said earlier, more than what I ever could imagine in the last year. And it just keeps growing and growing. I get emails or calls almost every day. Hey, when can you come do this? Give me a date. We'll try our best. I got another email today wanting us to go to New Braunfels in March to a conference that's a friend of ours with the EA. He's sponsoring there. We're sponsoring this one. We're getting these invites. We're kind of reaching out more from our community now. I wanted to start here, get it out here, and then start going to the state and kind of marching on out. We have to start somewhere. As far as I know, that we are the only nursing group in the state of Texas that does this type of outreach. I know there's some other groups of individuals, some parents, and some that have formed some coalitions or things around the state of Texas. But as far as any medical education like we just gave you guys, or to schools and things like that, as far as I know, we're the only ones who are doing it in the state of Texas.
I don't know if y'all noticed, we did a special thanks to EMS because y'all have helped us so much with bringing in these packets. We wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for y'all. Y'all are the front line, and y'all deal with this stuff probably more than we do, because not all of them come to the hospital or to our hospital. So, and I know we've talked to Covenant. We've actually done presentations for Covenant, their ERs, and they were seeing just as much as we were. So
we're making these boxes for other hospitals too, so that they can see them. So if y'all get patients that have these on them, don't throw them away. Save them for us.
Save them. And if y'all find new drugs, if y'all find new drugs that are coming out there, if y'all will just please let us know. I mean, go on our Facebook or whatever and just send us a message. Hey, there's this new drug out there, so we can start including it in our presentation as well.
I'm more active on our Facebook site than I am on a website. I'm way behind on the website. But I do dump a lot of articles and different things that I find on Facebook, or just, news blogs and things like that on synthetics. So, go friend us on Facebook. UMC's Needs is you can search that and you'll find us. If you know of anybody who wants us to come out, or you have a group that would like to hear us, on the brochure, on the very back, it tells how to reach us. I think my umchealthsystem.com email's back there. I think I'm the tour director of this group, so to speak. Get them in touch with me, have them call me, email me. We will do what we can to come out to your churches, your groups, or whatever. And like I said, we tailor it to the group. We don't give out any more information than we need to. Like I said, you guys got the whole 9 yards of what we do right now. And we're going to start doing some changes to this, because we've been doing this one, at least 6-8 months now.
Yeah, and we've gotten a new drug. What's that new drug? Creighton?
Gravel.
How you say it?
Gravel.
No, Gravel's Flocka.
No,
it's
Kratom.
Kratom.
Kratom's how you say it.
I have a bag of Kratom on my dining room table. I got
well, and there's actually a herb Kratom, but they are putting synthetics in it.
Well, it's the same herb Kratom, but they're putting synthetics in it. So
last week, 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
And she had 9 bags of that Kratom on her, and they gave us one so that we could talk about it too. And there's no law on that in Texas. You can buy it over the internet. It causes the same kind of stuff. You drink it, ingest it, smoke it, get it in your system. And it's a plant. It's like an actual plant that's ground up real fine.
And that's
There's
one
no
of the
law on
things.
it in the state of Texas, but it causes people to act crazy like the synthetic.
Yep, same thing. And that's one of the things that we're going to try to go back with the next legislative session, which is in spring of 17, which is a year from now, a little over a year from now. Hopefully we can get Charles Perry and some of our other senator friends, Joan Huffman from Houston, Van Taylor from the North Dallas, Frisco, Plano area. Joan Huffman from the Houston area. These guys are real big into this. They're the ones who heard us, said, hey, will you come do this? So they're big supporters of us, and still get emails from us like, hey, have you seen this, or what are you guys doing now, and things.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you for your job.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Are they going to get their signature sticker from you? Is that right?